comes back. It'll stay breezy and be a bit cooler with a high temp of just 54. Friday and Saturday look very nice with more sun, while Sunday, not so nice. Cloudy with a 50% chance of showers. Brian Leonard with your on point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk on this rainy Wednesday night in South Carolina. So just come inside and sit back and maybe throw another log or two on the fire, cozy up to somebody that you really like. Maybe your wife, maybe your girlfriend, maybe your dog. I think for most of us, it'd be the dog would be the first choice. And join us here on Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornbluth and Pat Daniel from the Dave and Buster studios here in Columbia. Got a great show for you tonight. A reminder, I know we may lose some of you to basketball later on. That's cool. But if you want to stay with us, you lose our station. You want to stay with us, we've got our streams on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook and the audio stream on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. So you can stay with us that way. We love to keep you along for the ride. Eric Backish, first-year Clemson baseball coach, going to join us here in a little bit to preview the Tigers and the start of practice for them. We had Mark Kingston last night. If you missed that, you can go catch it on our podcast. And also comments from Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell. Oh, they wanted him gone after last season. You just never know. Do you make the right decision by sticking with a guy? Do you make the right decision by making a change? It looks like that Clemson made the right decision sticking with Brad Brownell because the Tigers got a very solid win last night. They played good basketball. They took Georgia Tech out pretty early. Yeah, Tech made a run, got within 3, but Clemson never trailed in the ball game and eventually took the lead to the end to 21 points. And playing without 2 guys who would be starters for them as well. So they're developing depth. They're getting good play from some young guys. Shot the ball very well last night and didn't lose their focus really when they got off to a 12-0 lead and went on to a win. So they are 9-1. Best start ever for them in the ACC. 9-1, continue to lead at the halfway point of the ACC race. 17-4 overall. This has got a chance to be a very special season for Clemson as Chris Bergen joins us. He's at James Madison with the Coastal Carolina basketball team. They play tomorrow night. And if you're Brad Brownell, now you've been at Clemson going on a dozen years, and you know the deal at Clemson. I mean, they tune into basketball when it's going well, and anytime it's not, they're ready to run you out of town. Some of the fans are I'm talking about. But do you use a great season? Let's say they win 24, 25 games. He makes the tournament, obviously. Maybe wins a game or 2 in the tournament. I think this team would be a very dangerous 7, 8, or 9 seed. Do you ride that to something else, more basketball-centric opportunity, or do you hit it up for a new contract at Clemson and a longer run with the Tigers?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Phil, and good evening, guys. Good to be with you from what was earlier today a snowy Harrisonburg, Virginia, but it's just turned into nasty, rainy weather like we have back home. But Brad Brownell doesn't strike me as a guy that looks at Clemson now, even before, as say a jumping off point to somewhere else. I think he looked at Clemson and said, you know what, they could have probably gotten rid of me last year, and one way or the other at that point in time, would that have been a bad decision like South Carolina making the change? I don't know. Now, obviously, it's turned out to be a super decision to keep him on board. I just don't see him as somebody that would be job hunting. if he's able to turn this around, I think he's looking at Clemson as a place he can build the program now because he's seeing what he can do with older guys. And I've mentioned this before, and I think that's the reason Clemson is having the year they are, because they've got guys that have been in his system for 2 and 3 years, and that's now becoming more the anomaly, not necessarily the norm. And quite frankly, Phil, I mean, is there a better coaching job being done right now in the Atlantic Coast Conference than what Brad Brownell is doing? To me, he's the clear runaway favorite right now for ACC Coach of the Year, and certainly should be in the running in the mix for National Coach of the Year. The job that he has done with that team this year. Now, again, he's got some veteran guys who are doing a terrific job, so you've got to kind of catch lightning in a bottle and strike while the iron's hot, if I can come up with a couple of cliches.
Yeah.
But this is a team, I think you're right, too, about being a team that could be dangerous in the tournament for 2 reasons. They've got great guard play, and they play defense. And on nights when they don't necessarily shoot it well, like the Virginia Tech game a couple of nights ago, they still were able to rely on the other end of the floor, and that's why they won that ball game. I think Brad's in for the long haul, and Clemson got lucky. There's no question. They got lucky that he's having this kind of year, and it made the decision to bring him back. Look, it's aces for sure now because that team is a really, really good team. And I'd be stunned. Let's assume for a moment if they go on and win the ACC, would they actually be a 7 or 8 seed? Shouldn't they be somewhere closer to about a 3 or 4 seed at worst?
Well, I think it depends on what the record looks like. I mean, their net is still only 56 after winning last night.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Neither does Brownell. He talked about it last night. You'll hear some of that in his comments coming up. He's like, you can't have the net as your only option when it comes to evaluating teams, but it seems like that's what everybody does. And he says it's hard to figure out. He said a couple of years ago, they were like a 33 and State was a 34, and they both got left out, So he says it's hard to figure, and it is. It's a hard thing to figure out. Who knows? I don't even know what goes into the net. I guess you could look it up. You got to be a scientist and a mathematician, I guess, to figure it out. But this team is developing some good young talent. We saw Chauncey Wiggins last night show out, had a career-high 12 points. Middlebrooks is getting better. Godfrey is developing as a youngster. Dylan Hunter now is being forced to play a lot. He scored 9 points last night and had 2 assists in place of his brother Chase, who they hope that Chase Hunter and Alex Hemingway will be back for Saturday at Florida State. But they've been saying that almost every week now. Shefflin is a young guy. He'll be back. So you look at this team. Hall, unless he for some reason decides to leave for the pros, you'd have Hall and Shefflin and the 2 Hunters and Middlebrooks and Beatles coming along. Didn't play much last night, but he's talented. And you got Wiggins and Godfrey. That's a good young nucleus. All those guys are playing a good bit this year. That's a good young nucleus to build around when you think about the future. So it looks good. It looks good for Clemson. And, not to take anything away from them, let's face it, the ACC, top to bottom, is not having a great year this year. There's a number of really poor teams in the ACC this year, maybe more poor teams than normal when you look at how things are going. I mean, Louisville is terrible. Georgia Tech is terrible. Notre Dame is bad. Boston College is bad. Looks like Florida State's having a bit of an off year for them, though they are 5-4 in the league, but they're 7-13 overall. NC State's just, mediocre. Duke is off a tick or 2. Syracuse doesn't look great. It's not a top-heavy team. It's not a top-heavy league this year. So it's a good time for Clemson to have a great year. Right now, Clemson and Virginia and Miami are the cream of the crop. Now, Clemson still has to play Miami at home a week from Saturday. They still got to go to North Carolina in February. So there's still some traps out there. There's some mines to clear, but they got a chance to have a very, very special year. Meantime, South Carolina tonight.
I've got a quick point about the net ranking too, and this is probably going to upset some of our listeners, but the fact of the matter is that loss to South Carolina earlier in the year, Phil, may be part of the reason Clemson is not higher in the net, because you're talking about a team of the Gamecocks that's 277 out of 330 or whatever it is in terms of Division I basketball teams. That loss is weighing Clemson down. There's no other way to look around it, because for the most part, they don't have any bad losses outside of that game. And that game took place in November.
I think the Loyola loss is a pretty bad one too.
They're 271 in the net, by the way, Loyola.
Yeah, that was a bad loss too. Even though
they got 2 of those.
Yeah, they got 2 bad losses. That's hurting them in the net, no question about it. Now to the Gamecocks, they go to Florida tonight. That game will tip off 7:00, and the Gamecocks looking for a desperate win. They have lost 4 in a row and 5 out of 6 out of 7. Vandy, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, Auburn, all losses. Of course, that shocking win at Kentucky. Kentucky hasn't lost since they lost to South Carolina. So the Gamecocks woke those boys up. They play at Florida tonight. And, Florida is not a great team at this point. They're a decent team. They've got some good players, including a kid from Sumter, Felder, who's now a senior forward for Florida. I've forgotten all about him. But Florida does have a tremendous player in the middle in Castleton. And he is a guy that has given the Gamecocks fits. In their last meeting in Columbia that Florida won, he blocked 8 shots. So inside, and the Gamecocks kept going to the basket, and he kept blocking shots. Colin Castleton, he's 6'11". He is closing in on 200 career blocks. You just don't challenge him around the rim. If you go to the rim, you better have something else in mind than trying to go straight up around him. He averages about 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. He's the heart and soul of this basketball team. They're pretty big, 6'11", 6'9". Alex Fudge has moved into the starting lineup. He's 6'9", backcourt 6'3", 6'3", 6'4". So it's a good Florida team with a new coach, and they have struggled a little bit as well. They did win their last game against Mississippi State on the road, and before that they lost to Texas A&M, had a couple of wins over LSU and Missouri. Prior to that, they lost 3 in a row, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Texas A&M. So, Chris, the thing about the Gamecocks, with the way their record looks, the one thing you can say about it is they have played a tough schedule to this point. They've played a very difficult schedule. Maybe it gets a little bit easier, if you want to say easier, with Florida on the road. I'm not sure that's a great qualification, saying Florida on the road is easier. But compared to what they've been playing, maybe a little bit of a break from that standpoint. So they got Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State. 3 games here where they should be competitive. And if you can be competitive, you might accidentally go out there and win like they did against Kentucky. Now they should, on paper, they didn't look competitive against Kentucky, and they never trailed against Kentucky. That's the funny thing about their games this month, this entire month of January. They've never led at home. And they, the Kentucky game, they did play Vanderbilt January 3rd. Forget Vanderbilt. Since Vanderbilt, playing those home games, they've never led, and against Kentucky, they never trailed. So what I'm saying is, in their last 5 games, they've had that unique deal where one game they never trailed, and the other games they never led. We'll see what happens tonight. This has a chance to be a competitive game for them.
First half, again, I'll come back to say it. For whatever reason, Lamont Paris has got to find a way, and he tried to shift the lineup a little bit against over the weekend, and I think it actually paid some dividends and got them in that ball game, at least for the most part, with Auburn. And then Auburn went away late in the first half and then opened up, obviously, the 26-point lead in the second half, and USC was playing catch-up after that. Be curious to see how he manipulates his lineup tonight. But this is a game being played in a place that South Carolina has had success. Phil, you go back to 2018, Gamecocks have won 3 straight down in Gainesville, looking for their 4th straight win at Florida. So, it's a place that they've actually played some good basketball. Now, none of the guys on the current roster had that kind of success, but at least the program has. So, I think it's one they've got to approach a lot differently, thinking they've got a shot, unlike, say, Tennessee and Texas A&M and even Auburn this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a funny thing about this series. The road team has won 6 straight games in the series, so neither team has been fazed about playing at the other's arena. So that'll be coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock. Now, you, sir, shall never take Chicago State for granted again. Shame on you.
I did not. I told you guys on Monday I didn't expect Coastal to lose, but I did tell you they had some quality players on that team. They just had no luck, and I think unfortunately, and Coastal doesn't need me to make any excuses. Their play was not up to snuff. But I think they probably the players anyway saw 4 and 16 and just assumed, hey, we can roll the balls out on the basketball court and win. And that was not the case. Heck, they trailed by as much as 12 in the first half. They were lucky to be as close as they were in the second half and actually had the lead in the second half, but just couldn't finish it. And it was ironic in some regards. You know, Chicago is a haven for basketball. They love their basketball up in Chicago, as you well know, Phil. On Monday night, Chicago State snapped a 16-game road losing streak this year alone, and I think it even goes back into the 30s if you fan back to last year. And then last night, DePaul, also from Chicago, helped Georgetown win their first Big East game in their last 30 outings, I think it was. So it's been somewhat of a historic and strange week for college basketball in Chicago, to say the least.
Absolutely. And like you said, they love their basketball in Chicago. They love their Bulls. And when DePaul was a power under the Myers, it was the talk of the town. And when Loyola Chicago made their run, of course, it dominated the scene there in Chicago. So it's a great basketball city. Great players come out of Chicago. And but losing to a 4-win Chicago State team at home, I mean, that's taking your eye off the ball. And you were coming off, I say you, Coastal, you were coming off a couple of nice conference wins, and you're playing at home. This should have been an easy W, not an easy W, but it should have been a W and make your record look, you'd be, 11-9 instead of 10-10.
Correct. And I think the one thing that probably bothers Cliff Ellis and the staff more than anything is the fact that because they had to play from behind virtually the entire game, coming off, two tough overtime wins in your conference and knowing what you still have in front of you in the league, what you were hoping was that you'd be able to put it on cruise control on Monday night in the second half and get a lot of your backup guys who haven't played a whole lot since Sunbelt action began and not lose the game. That was the hope. And clearly it was not the case because they still had to rely on their starters to play 30-plus minutes. And that's not what you wanted on the back end of 3 games in 5 days. And now traveling up here to James Madison and then traveling back home on Friday and getting ready for Old Dominion back in town on Saturday. So, yeah, that blew up in their face for sure, that loss to a team that, quite frankly, they should not have lost to.
Okay, we're going to go to the break here in a moment. Eric Bakich coming up at the bottom of the hour. And we'll have a lot of recruiting. Nick Harbor, for those who might be losing us here at the bottom of the hour, I'll tell you a couple things. USC's going in tonight for their in-home with Nick Harbor. That'll be about 9 o'clock, Shane Beamer and company. I did an interview with his dad today, Azuka Harbor. Very nice man. And he really likes Shane Beamer. And he really likes South Carolina, but he said it's his son's decision. He'll advise him if he asks. He'll give him his opinion if he asks, but it's totally up to his son to decide what he wants. So South Carolina, Miami, and Maryland going in today. Earlier this week, Oregon and Michigan were in, and they're going to take an official visit to Oregon this weekend. He will sign on Wednesday about noon. One of the ESPN channels, I guess normally it's number 2 that does it for the recruiting days. So that's probably where it will be, or ESPNU, one of those I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a channel devoted solely to college athletics, you would think that would be where you put all your recruiting stuff, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but sometimes they use the Deuce. They spill it over to the Deuce because they got so many of them going on.
I'm still waiting for ESPN Varsity. I'm stunned they haven't tried to tap into the high school market yet.
Oh, don't think it's not been talked about. And then something I tweeted last night. I don't have any more information to add right now, but I was told by a knowledgeable source that it's not totally over at South Carolina yet related to Trajan Jeffcoat. That Jeffcoat did announce a commitment to Arkansas, but he has not stepped into a classroom yet, has not started taking classes, according to our information as of last night. In South Carolina, I got another confirmation this morning from a different source that indeed, there's still an opportunity. I shouldn't say opportunity. There's still hope by those on the South Carolina side of things trying to get this thing resolved, that it can get resolved and give him the guarantees that he can get into school that might lead to him changing his mind and coming to South Carolina, which is where he originally wanted to go. I don't know anything else. I can't give you any more details. That's all I know. And when, I was kind of hoping it was over when he said it was over, when he committed to Arkansas, but it's not over yet. So we'll continue to pass along what we're told from our reliable sources. No sense not sharing it with you because it is going on and it is happening. And If it does work out for South Carolina, great. If it doesn't, then they move on. All right, let's hit the break, and we'll come back with more. Talk about some other things going on. You're with us how long, sir?
I will probably stay until Coach Backett jumps on board, and then I'll hop off and let you guys talk baseball.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to stay. He's going to be with us here at the bottom of the hour.
I'm just afraid that I'm not sure how much longer Coastal's going to practice here tonight. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. We'll hit the break. Be back with more in a moment. Don't go away.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you, I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Major Downer here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is just around the corner. To make sure that your boat is ready, check your registration sticker and ensure it's current. Find your registration card, make sure your life jackets are in good shape, and check your fire extinguisher as well. For more information on boating or boat titling questions, visit dnr.sc.gov/boating.
Just looking over Mel Kiper's first mock draft for the 23 NFL draft. Unless my eyes deceive me, I'm shocked. I don't see a Tiger or a Gamecock in the first round.
Wow.
Yeah, no Bressie. He writes in here about Bressie that he thought hard about him down around 27, 28 in the first round, but didn't pick him. I'll go over this a little bit later on in detail. And, I mean, again, unless I'm just missing somebody here, neither a Gamecock nor a Tiger in the first round projected by Mr. Draft, Mel Kiper.
And he's also got the Panthers selecting Anthony Richardson from Florida as their quarterback at number 9 in the draft, which I don't know how Panthers fans would feel about him. Coming in and
all right. I knew I missed something. He's got Miles Murphy to the Falcons at number 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah. I scrolled past that. I would have thought for sure Bressie would be in the first round projection by him. He's got Jalen Carter going first to Chicago, the defensive tackle out of Georgia, and he's got C.J. Stroud going to Houston second, and Will Anderson to the Cardinals third, Bryce Young to the Colts, Will Levis to the Seahawks. Then he's got Tyree Wilson to the Lions at 6, Peter Skoronski, big offensive tackle, to the Raiders at 7, Murphy to the Falcons at 8, Richardson, as you mentioned, to the Panthers at 9, and the Eagles taking Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle out of Pitt, at number 10. Let me see what he's got for my Packers, because we're picking earlier this year. Michael Mayer. Ooh, I would like this. Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame.
That'd be a good selection. And might keep Aaron Rodgers in the fold if you're going to help him out a little bit offensively with another pass receiver.
And 2 of their tight ends, Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis, are free agents. Hate to lose. Lewis is up there in age, and he's basically a blocker. I would hate to lose, as we like to call him, Bobby Tonyan. I'd like to see them re-sign him because he's become a quality tight end. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anybody else because I just scrolled right over Murphy, and I hate doing that. And as I scroll down through here, how's that arena there in at James Madison?
It is a beautiful facility. It's 2 years old. It's the Atlantic Union Bank Center. Seats about 8,500 for basketball, and it's as nice as any you'll find in the Sun Belt, and probably as nice as any you'll find around the country. And as a matter of fact, Phil, interesting story about this. Limestone, of all teams, came in here to play James Madison, the first ever basketball game played here back in November of 2020.
Interesting. Limestone, the Saints helped to break it in. Okay, we're going to hit the break. Coach Backish is due to join us after the break. Chris, we'll talk to you later on.
All right, I may try and stay, so I'll stick around for a little
Stay
bit.
as long as you want. You're welcome to stay. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Today's heavy rains will clear out overnight. We'll have a low dropping back down to 39. Tomorrow, the sun comes back. We'll stay breezy and be a bit cooler with a high temp of just 54. Friday and Saturday look very nice with more sun, while Sunday, not so nice. Cloudy with a 50% chance of showers. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, Point listeners, this is Casey Whitener. When I'm not hosting Right on SC, I'm teaching at Carolina and serving as programs director for the Faber Entrepreneurship Center at USC. The Faber Center is hosting a community event called Blockchain for Business on March 17th at the Moore School. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite. Search using the word Faber, F-A-B-E-R, and join us to learn more about the entrepreneurial opportunities in the blockchain world. Made possible by the South Carolina Department of Commerce and USC's Darla Moore School of Business.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Facebook parent Meta is reinstating former President Donald Trump's personal account after a 2-year suspension following the January 6th riot. The company said in a blog post Wednesday it is adding new guardrails to ensure there are no repeat offenders who violate its rules. The former president, in a post on his own social media network, blasted Facebook's decision to suspend his account as he praised his own site, Truth Social. Quote, Facebook, which has lost billions of dollars in value since deplatforming your favorite president, me, has just announced that they are reinstating my account. Such a thing should never again happen to a sitting president or anybody else who is not deserving of retribution, unquote. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 9 points, the Nasdaq dropped 21. More details at srnnews.com.
With Dave Ramsey here, do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
It's January. It's 2023. A brand new year. Time for a brand new pet in your home. Columbia Animal Services invites you to bring home a brand new best friend for the new year. Time to visit petfinder.com to find that new puppy or kitty cat for your home. There's no better way to get 2023 started than to do so with an adoption special of just $23. Visit petfinder.com and get your new family member to start the new year. Happy New Year from Columbia Animal Services.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. I'm the owner, the general manager here at The Point. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is to partner with great people. To that end, I'm looking to partner in the upcoming months with like-minded business owners, people who want to grow their respective businesses. Would you consider meeting with me in the very near future to discuss how The Point can partner with you so that you can exceed your own expectations in the coming year? Let's sit down over a glass of tea, a cup of coffee. Let's talk about how your business and my business can work together to meet our collective goals. I'm not looking simply for advertisers. I can find them by simply cold calling people a few times a week. What I'm looking for are business partners who share the vision that I have for my own small business. That vision is very simple. Local businesses need to support local businesses, period. If you have an interest in telling people about your business via the radio, let's make it happen affordably and local. Call me directly, 563-8558, 563-8558. I'd appreciate the chance to meet with you. Maybe we can help each other.
Hey, it's the Cigar Militia. We want to thank the Midlands for a wonderful first year. Thank you for helping us grow. We had no idea we had so many good friends out there. One thing I love about the cigar culture is we all have our favorite brands, but we're also willing to try new ones too. Come in and get your old standby, or have one of our knowledgeable staff members walk you through the humidor to your new favorite. We're at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard in the same plaza as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
All right, we're getting ready for the start of baseball practice. The season not too far away as well. Mark Kingston with us last night here on Sports Talk. We now welcome in for the first time of what will be, we hope, many interviews over the next, 25, 30 years with the new Clemson baseball coach, Eric Bakich. Coach, good evening. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
You okay with my projection, 25, 30 years of interviews? That'd be okay?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we plan to be here, and I'm sure you plan to be at Clemson, so that's good. Well, first of all, now that you've definitely gotten the old feet wet and you kind of got your feet buried in the dirt there at Doug Kingsmore, how's it feeling to you? What were some of the most important things that you've gotten done over your first few months there running the program at Clemson?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, it still feels a little bit like drinking from the proverbial fire hose, but you just have to break it down into chunks. And so the most important jobs to be done right away. The first 30 days, we wanted to put a staff together. Wanted to, obviously start building a relationship with our current team, current players. Get to know all the recruits, meet all the local coaches in the great state of South Carolina, and get connected to the alumni. So that was, all of that was probably the summer. That was half of June, all of July. And then as we got into August, it was getting into the planning and the preparation of fall ball and creating a training environment for our team to thrive in. But it's been busy. It's been 100 miles an hour every day, and it's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of new players. You got a new staff for the most part. And the returning players, they're learning you. You're learning them. As you go into preseason camp here, how many spots in your starting nine would you say? Well, let's say starting 8, not pitching, but starting 8. How many spots are still open? How much competition is there going to be going into camp?
There's quite a bit of competition. I've said this many times, but the previous staff did a great job of bringing some very high quality players and individuals to Clemson and into this program. So it's been terrific getting to know them and evaluating them and as a player, but more importantly, getting to know them as people. And they're super competitive, obviously. And so there's a lot of inter-team competition for various spots on the field. Now, we do have some returning starters that maybe would have a little bit of a leg up just because of their age and their experience and just the reps that they've had inside college baseball. But we haven't defined any starters yet. We haven't named any certain positions yet, but I think people can look at the stat sheet last year and kind of figure some things out that a Ben Blackwell and a Blake Wright and a Cooper Ingle and a Caden Grice, those guys were key contributors. Tyler Corbett, those guys are key contributors to last year's team. And, it's going to be hard for them to stay out of that lineup.
Well, I would agree. And I guess most people start with Grice and what a player he has been at Clemson. And I know you're expecting some big things out of him, pitching and playing in the field and hitting. What are your plans for a guy with so many skills, so many tools?
Well, we've moved him from the outfield back to the infield. We've got him at first base. He's a super athlete. He's a big target, very agile over there, and it just also keeps him in the action. The outfield can be a lonely place sometimes. You can go the whole game and not get a ball. So it's just keeping him more engaged, which will obviously help his offense. And then pitching is something that he did just in sparingly last year, and that's something that we'll look to really expand that role. He could be a starter, he could be a reliever, could pitch in high leverage relief, but just having him as a pitcher as well as a true two-way type player will not only help him as a pitcher, but certainly help him as an offensive player, and just being fully engaged in kind of that pitcher-hitter matchup and how he would pitch and attack certain hitters, and start to have that mental framework when he goes up to bat as well.
Eric Backens, the new head baseball coach at Clemson, joining us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Coach, let's stick with Caden Grice for just a moment. From an offensive perspective, he's a young man that can drive in probably 100 runs for you and certainly hit 30 or more home runs during a season. In your style of offense, though, baseball-wise, what do you want to see? Do you want him to continue to be a power hitter, or does he also need to try and put the ball in play? When you look at a team offensively, what is your style of baseball going to look like?
Well, we've had some explosive offenses, in our teams at Michigan, and it was because we played team offense. And I think a lot of offenses looks like 9 independent contractors going up to bat and doing their Twitter swing. And for us, everyone has a job to do until they cross the plate. And so our offense will be predicated on scoring runs. And it's a dynamic balance of speed and power. And for a guy like Caden, he may achieve those numbers, but he'll do it by not trying to do it. And that's a very important thing for he and all young hitters to understand. Sometimes less is more when it comes to generating bat speed and power. And my favorite at-bat from the fall was actually one of his at-bats. Every time we inter-squad, I like to be the home plate umpire just to have that perspective, that vantage point on the field. And he had a 2-strike count, and there was a pitch that was thrown. It was maybe 6 inches off the plate, and he was choked up. He was just trying to put the barrel on it, and he did exactly that. He put the barrel on it and hit a line drive into the top of the bleachers opposite field. And an opposite field line drive home run, that's hard to do, and he did it with just a very simple swing. And so for he and for a lot of our players, just understanding with 2 strikes, it becomes a team at bat, and it becomes about being gritty, not pretty, and just putting the barrel on the ball. Sometimes you can still hit for power and hit some of your hardest balls doing that. So I love that at bat that he had in the fall, and that's just more of a team approach, playing team baseball, and looking forward to all of our guys competing that way.
There's no question you had tremendous success as head coach at Michigan. Is there a difference, though, coaching a upper Midwest Northern college baseball team, translating now to coaching a college team in the South, where you might actually be able to get out on Friday and start practice? Is there a big difference, though, in terms of the way the game is played, how it's coached, and how you train for baseball at Michigan now that you're moving over to Clemson?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously the weather. I'd be lying if I didn't, mention the weather, and so that really, from a training standpoint, it just allows more time at our craft, where we had to be a little bit creative, and we did get very creative when we were indoors, and maybe could only be outside sparingly for small doses. But competition is competition, and that part of the game is the same. And those are some of the biggest strides that our team has made, and just really from the neck up. And I'm really excited to see him compete, and looking forward to this time that we have now as we enter into this preseason segment where we start official team practice. All of college baseball starts official team practice this Friday to really start to ramp up and get ready for opening day.
A name many Tiger fans will think of maybe these days as on the football field, kind of forgotten because of injury the expectations coming out of high school as a highly regarded prospect. Just curious, I saw your thoughts last week. You were quoted calling Will Taylor, quote, one of the most explosive athletes I've seen in a baseball uniform. Again, he missed a vast majority of last year, still recovering from that torn ACL. Just wondering if you could expand on what expectations may be for Will Taylor this year on the baseball field.
Well, we've been able to work with him now for a couple of weeks, and he's extremely explosive. He's extremely twitchy, as you would expect an athlete of his caliber to be. And he just has a big engine. He just gets going quick. He gets to full speed quickly. He can accelerate quickly. So really, I think for him, it's just getting into really baseball mode and maybe out of football mode, which he's doing very, very, very fast, very rapidly. So his swing looks good. He's making strides defensively, and really just this is our time to kind of evaluate his skill set, and he's competing to earn a position, to earn a role as well, just like a lot of the guys did all fall, and now they're still doing. So he is playing a little bit of catch up in that regard, but he is a phenomenal athlete, one of the best athletes I have seen in a baseball uniform. That is true. Just with the ability just to be explosive and very athletic in what he does. So containing all of that in the specific skills of baseball will be exciting. To watch how he progresses and grows here these next few weeks.
And Coach, you also in that same interview mentioned having a lot of versatility this spring with 8 different guys fighting for the 3 starting spots in the outfield, including, of course, Will Taylor. Last year, he may have played more DH because of the injury. But is it too early, or do you have any expectations yet of whether fans maybe see him more in the outfield or more at DH, or maybe doing a little bit of both? Or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, we haven't really even thought about the DH role at all. Usually that's kind of the best offensive player not playing a defensive position, and if that's him, then that's him. But right now it's a lot of our training and focus has been, from a defensive standpoint of just, learning the way that we teach it and how we teach our first steps and acceleration and the movements, like a wide receiver learning his routes. And so we've been heavily involved with that. And then from an offensive standpoint, just, maybe adjusting to the things that we prioritize, like plate decisions and quality contact and consistent contact and all of the things that go under those buckets for those key performance indicators. So he seems to be a guy that does a really good job at swinging his strikes and taking balls. Which is the essentials of making good decisions at the plate. And he definitely has a lot of bat speed because he's a fast mover and because he's athletic. So, it's really for us as coaches, it's not trying to necessarily define what his role is right now, but just more not only evaluate his skill set, but also, work with him on playing a little bit of catch up on all the things that we did this fall that, while he was busy winning an ACC championship on the gridiron, that we could get him up to speed here so we can try to do the same thing.
A few more minutes with Clemson baseball coach Eric Bakich here on Sports Talk. So what about the pitching? We haven't really touched on that in great detail. Where are you in your mind having a weekend rotation? Are you there yet? Or you got to see more here in camp?
No, I'd be lying to say that we don't have any idea what our rotation is. The thing is we have so many good pitchers that we feel like are potential starters. What we haven't done is say, all right, this is our Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What we have is 6 to 8 guys right now that, based on their stuff and based on their command, because we like our starters to be able to throw 3 pitches for strikes. We have at least 6 guys that we feel like could fit that starter profile. And the guys who don't start, where are they well positioned? Are they long relievers? Are they high leverage relievers? Could they close? And so it's kind of identifying, all right, who are these in a typical college baseball program, 10, 11, 12 guys are going to get 90% of the innings pitched. Same thing on the offense. They're going to get 90% of the at-bats. So it's really just kind of trying to figure out who we feel like are the guys that are going to, have the most impactful roles on the team in terms of the outcome of the game. But we haven't identified a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday yet. We know who some of those guys are that could be potential starters, but have not identified that, hey, Ryan Ammons is starting on Friday night. He could, but we haven't come out and said that yet.
Yeah, are you more inclined to put him in the rotation and move him from the closer's role that he was so effective at last year?
We are, because we want him to pitch the most meaningful innings possible. And starting pitcher, the tone setter, we do feel like that role for him, he's the right type of kid, right type of character, right type of makeup. It means a lot for him to wear Clemson across his chest. He's had a lot of repetitions in college baseball. We know he's a very established. We know he's a very good end of the game type of pitcher, and we really want him to pitch more and keep that same mentality and just go out there and close the first inning and then do it again and again and again as many times as he can do it. But really just try to put him in a position where, we think he can do it. He thinks he can do it, and put him in a position to be very successful as a pitcher out there.
Clemson head baseball coach Eric Backich with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Coach, we obviously could not get you out of here without talking about South Carolina and Clemson. Our state very proud of that rivalry, one of the best in the country, and for a long time may have been the best in the nation. How much have you heard about that rivalry, and what is your take on first go around with South Carolina coming up in early March?
Well, it's not my first go around. It's the second go around. I was fortunate enough to experience it. First time being a college coach, and it hit you right in the face. I mean, it is as passionate as it gets, and it was such a high bar. So many things about Clemson. Being at Clemson the first time was a high bar. Being with Coach Leggett and Coach Corbin and Coach O'Sullivan on one staff, and learning from 3 Hall of Famers, to having the team that we had that finished in Omaha that year, to just taking it all in, and then experiencing something like the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry. It's just when you are privileged, if you get lucky to be at a place that has a high caliber rivalry. And you're right, I don't know if there is a better one in baseball than Clemson, South Carolina. I don't know if there's a better college baseball rivalry than that. Then the way to approach it is just to have the utmost respect for it. And that's what we do. We're not here to make any predictions or talk bad about them or anyone else. It's just we are going to respect that rivalry so much that we're going to train for it every single day and prepare for it every single day. And we have. We addressed it. I talked about it in the press conference. We talked about it in meeting number 1. We talk about it or plan for it all the time. And I think that's the best way to show the utmost respect for this rivalry and getting to compete in it on such an awesome stage with such a long history and such a long-standing rivalry between the 2 baseball programs, which have both had just some unbelievable moments in their history.
Last thing, we'll let you go. How much are you leaning on the old man, number 7? How much you tapping into his knowledge, and is he physically involved with you guys getting ready for the practice and for the season?
Physically, Jack Leggett is level 10 energy all the time, full tilt, all go, relentless, positive enthusiasm. And for him to be involved with Clemson baseball again just feels right, is right. It's awesome. He's a coach for the coaches. He's a mentor for the players. And every time he comes around, our program gets better. So it's awesome having him around. He's maybe not there every single day, but he is on our staff. His official title is program development, but he is a great guy and a great resource to have. Great ambassador for Clemson baseball and just for people who want to be tough and competitive and high energy. That's him. That's every fiber of his DNA. And so I lean on him a lot. He was a mentor 21 years ago, has continued to be a mentor for 21 straight years, and will continue to be so in the future. And always very appreciative of him for giving this guy an opportunity to get a start in coaching. So it's great to have him back.
Tell you what, I'm sorry to interrupt. Tell you what, having you and Coach Leggett and Corbin and Sullivan in a room together, all talking at the same time, you wouldn't know who's talking. You all sound alike. It's like you all grew up in the same house.
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of testosterone in that room when we were Sully and Corbs and we all shared an office. But it was, it was high energy for sure. I don't know how the roof stayed on, but it was one of the things that I can point to is I got really lucky being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you for joining us tonight. Look forward to many more conversations with you. We'll see you during the season. We appreciate you being on with us.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach Eric Bakich at Clemson. I think the program's in good hands. It went from good hands to good hands to good hands. So I think that they're going to be very competitive moving forward with their baseball program. And I was very interested. You asked the question about the South Carolina rivalry. I'm very, very interested to hear his response. That's something that is on his mind 24/7, 365. They're conscious of it. It's obviously something that they want to win, and they think about beating and bettering the Gamecocks apparently all the time.
Well, and when you compare those two programs, and Mark Kingston is going to probably tell you the same thing. If you're good enough to beat Clemson or you're good enough to beat South Carolina, you're certainly good enough to contend in your league and good enough to go to the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, it's obviously a big series, and he's taking it very, very seriously.
Yeah, of course, for the Gamecock. Let's see. No, who won it last year? Well, it really didn't matter.
Carolina.
South Carolina won the series last year? Mm-hmm. Did they? And then they had a losing record on the season. So it's just one of those things. You're right. Usually the winner of that series is going to go on and have a good year. And of course, South Carolina, you look back at last year and they had those multitude of injuries not too long after that Clemson series. So they really struggled on the mound trying to have some consistency there. And that's why if you heard Mark Kingston last night, I mean, he was talking about his pitchers. They're going to be lights out on the mound, and he's got 3 or 4. Okay, I'm just informed that Clemson swept the series 3-0 last year. I knew I should. I knew I shouldn't have listened to you. You're on the road watching basketball. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, so Clemson swept the series last year 3-0.
If memory serves, the Gamecocks, that first game was close, and then Clemson sort of dominated the final 2. Is that right?
Sorry, Clemson won the first one 5-2, the second one 10-2, the third one 3-2. So you may be thinking about that third game was really close.
So there you go. That proved the point. Of course, Clemson didn't make the postseason either last year, so they didn't do either one any good that particular year. But obviously, the Gamecocks went on to have a tough year, and I think some of it, maybe a lot of it, can be pinned on their injuries. If they stay healthy, they've really got a chance to have some good, solid arms, and got to work in some new guys that he has brought into the program, some transfers, as he said last night. And then here with Clemson, I mean, you heard Coach say he's got, 6 guys they're thinking about in the rotation. It was interesting. I liked his approach when he talked about Ryan Ammons. Probably going to be one of the starters on the weekend, and look at every inning like closing out the inning like a closer would do. Close out the first inning, close out the second inning, et cetera, et cetera. And I like what he said about the approach of getting your best pitchers on the mound on the weekend to eat up innings and put them in position early in games to win games and not have to, worry about the back end of it all the time.
Well, and your point about Ammons and the one he brought up is interesting, too, because that sort of spits in the face of conventional baseball wisdom, doesn't it? Because we've all been told, those of us who never played it at the collegiate or certainly the professional level, that starters have to have a different mentality because they have to be able to extend themselves 5, 6, 7, 8 innings, whatever the case may be. And closers can come in and go 90 miles an hour all the way through until their arm's done. And it doesn't sound like he wants that sort of mentality from Ryan Ammons. He wants him to pitch hard and close out innings, which I think is totally different, especially in this now era of baseball analytics where everything is so over utilized and overanalyzed.
I agree. We appreciate Coach being on with us. You can tell he's a deep thinker.
Yes, he is.
He's a guy that breaks it down, and probably, I don't know if he's a big one of those statistical guys that relies on the various percentages and all that kind of stuff, your WAR, and makes decisions based on that, or makes decisions off his gut. I happen to think your best baseball coaches make their decisions on their baseball experience and off their gut feeling about a game. But we do know analytics does enter into it. Okay, top of the hour. We'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. In a reversal, the United States will send nearly 3 dozen M1 Abrams battle tanks to Ukraine. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
After arguing that the tanks were too difficult for Ukrainian troops to operate and maintain, President Biden announced that the U.S. will provide 31 Abrams tanks at the recommendation of the Pentagon.
Because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives.
The U.S. announcement was made in coordination with Germany's decision to send 14 Leopard 2 tanks to help Ukraine fight Russian forces. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Facebook's parent Meta is reinstating former President Donald Trump's personal account after a 2-year suspension following the January 6th riot. The company said it is adding new guardrails. The former president, in a post on his own social media network, blasted Facebook's decision to suspend his account in the first place as he praised his own site, Truth Social. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy of California says embattled GOP lawmaker George Santos of New York will be removed from office if it's determined he broke the law. Correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
McCarthy says Santos' political fate lies in the hands of the House Ethics Committee. The speaker says despite Santos's alleged string of falsehoods during the campaign, he was elected by the voters in his New York district, and that it would violate the Constitution for House leadership to bar him from serving. Everything changes, McCarthy says, if the ethics panel determines that Santos has committed crimes. Santos has admitted to padding his resume to get elected, but is so far refusing to resign, saying he was elected by the voters to serve. Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 9 points, the Nasdaq dropped 21, the S&P declined a fraction, oil up to $80.15 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Thanks to your support, Patriot Mobile has emerged as one of the leaders in the conservative parallel economy, and they have big news. Patriot Mobile now offers service with all 3 major networks. That means if you're with the big 3 and like the service but hate their left-wing values, you can access them with Patriot Mobile. They also offer a performance guarantee. If you're not happy with your coverage, you can switch between the 3 major carriers for free. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative cell phone provider, offers nationwide coverage on the best 4G and 5G networks. You get the same great service while supporting a company that fights to preserve our God-given rights and freedoms. This new year, resolve to stop supporting companies that don't align with your values. Their 100% US-based customer support team makes switching easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Gorka or call 878-PATRIOT. Get free activation today with the offer code Gorka. patriotmobile.com/GORKA 878-PATRIOT.
Bible. 2 suspected serial carjackers are arrested in Washington, D.C. after hiding in a spot they thought would help their cool escape.
According to police, they tried to hide in a restaurant's outdoor freezer. The U.S. Capitol Police arrested Sadeh Hardy and Landrell Jordan. Both are 18 years old. Investigators say they are believed to be tied to multiple armed carjackings in the D.C. area. Both suspects are charged with felony fleeing, reckless driving, assault with a deadly weapon, and several other firearms-related charges, including having an unregistered weapon and a high-capacity gun magazine. They were involved in a short police chase before finding what they thought would be a good place to hide. I'm Bill Alexander in Washington.
A new report on mass attacks calls for communities to intervene early when they see warning signs of violence. The report also encourages businesses to consider workplace violence prevention plans. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Today's heavy rains will clear out overnight. We'll have a low dropping back down to 39. Tomorrow, the sun comes back. We'll stay breezy and be a bit cooler with a high temp of just 54. Friday and Saturday look very nice with more sun, while Sunday, not so nice. Cloudy with a 50% chance of showers. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back. It's hour number 2, Sports Talk Media Network on this Wednesday night. Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Chris in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Not Harrisburg, but Harrisonburg.
Yes, just northwest of Charlottesville.
Okay. There for Coastal James Madison tomorrow night. And I'm here with Pat at the Dave & Buster Studios in downtown Columbia. And a reminder for you, because we are at the Dave & Buster Studios in downtown Columbia, you be sure to get out to Dave & Buster's, Columbia, Greenville, Myrtle Beach, and have a great meal, something delicious to drink, play all the games in their huge arcade, and catch all the big games all season long. 3 places: Dave & Buster's, Greenville, Columbia, Myrtle Beach. Should mention, too, of course, our phone number is 888-898-2525. If you want to join us, we got some time for some calls now. And our phone number presented to you by the South Carolina Education Lottery. It's our Sports Talk Lucky Line into the program. And did you know that since 2002, more than $572 million in lottery proceeds has been used to fund Palmetto Fellow Scholarships for the state's college-bound students? You can learn more about the lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/educationwins. And playing for fun is a win for education. Coming up, we have recruiting for you. Coming up, we have some comments from Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell. Florida leading the Gamecocks at the first media timeout is 8-4. And the Gamecocks off to a coolish shooting start, 2 of 7, while Florida is 4 of 6. Both have missed a pair of 3-point attempts. Neither has taken a free throw attempt. And Castleton, we talked about early in the show, already has 6 points for Florida, 6 of their 8. He's 3 for 3. I'd imagine he's right around the basket. He's got a rebound. And G.G. Jackson's got all the Gamecock points. He's 2 for 4 from the floor. He's got a rebound, and he's got 4 points. So not a good start, but I'd say, Chris, that the fact Jackson's off to a good start is a good thing for the Gamecocks. They just need some others to contribute.
Yeah, he's got to have some help. He can't do it all himself. He's got to have a much better game tonight out of Michi Johnson to begin with. And their guards have to play better. And they got to get off. That's like a broken record, but they need to have a good first half to give them a chance to be in it in the second half. And I'm going to have to run because Coastal's wrapping up practice. But I will say this. I have burned into my memory now. Clemson baseball swept the season series last year with the Gamecocks. Will not forget that moving forward.
What is your airtime tomorrow?
6:45.
Airtime 6:45.
Go CCUsports.com.
Hey, what happens if you miss the bus, by the way?
I've got to walk back in the rain, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and you're just over.
Too.
You sound pretty good. It sounds like you're over your last cold. So
yes, feeling much better. Thank you.
Good.
Right,
safe
boys.
Travels.
Thank you.
See you,
and
Chris.
we will talk to you guys tomorrow night right before the game.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chris Bergen up at James Madison with Coastal Carolina. Yeah, bad loss for Coastal the other night. They shouldn't be losing that game to Chicago State at home, and see if they can make up for it tomorrow night. Meantime, give you some other basketball scores besides the Gamecocks and the Gators. 8-4, Florida out in front. Asheville leading Presbyterian 17-11. Let's update that. Asheville is leading Presbyterian 25-20 as they play in the first half. That game's being played up in Asheville. And let's see. Tonight we got Wake Forest playing Pitt. We've got Wofford and Chattanooga, Upstate and Gardner-Webb, Georgia playing Tennessee, Charleston Southern taking on Winthrop, Citadel and Western Carolina. Of course, you got Furman and Sanford playing up in Greenville. That's a huge one. Georgia, Tennessee. Georgia's leading Tennessee early, 6-4. And that is it for the games we're watching right now here early in the second hour of Sports Talk. Furman and Sanford will be getting underway. They're probably all getting underway right about now. We'll get you some updates on these games shortly. And another look at South Carolina, Florida, 9-4 now. The Gators have built a 5-point lead on the Gamecocks. We got recruiting coming up for you in a little bit. Last night at Clemson, though, at Littlejohn, it was another good night for the Tigers. You know, in their last two games, they've allowed 50 points to Virginia Tech and 51 points to Georgia Tech. So two really good defensive efforts. The 51 points, the fewest Tech has scored this season. The Tigers jumped out to a quick lead, 12-0 in the first 90 seconds. They hit 3 threes and a free throw to build that quick 10-0 lead, then another basket to go up 12-0. They held the lead most of the way, all the way in the first half, a comfortable lead. Now, Tech did get to within 3, but Clemson rebuilt the lead by halftime to 9 points, and then the closest Tech would get in the second half was 9 points, and that was the Tigers led for all but about 40 seconds of the second half by double digits. So 9 points was as close as Tech could get. Tigers added to the lead late and ended up with their longest lead of 21 points at the end of the ball game. They were led last night by P.J. Hall with 17. He was 6 of 12, 1 of 3 from 3. He also had 7 rebounds, and he had a fantastic block. It was in the second half, I believe. Tigers had the game pretty much well in hand. It was a play he could have just sat back and let the guy go ahead and dunk. He had to kind of come from across the lane, and he met the Tech player at the rim, inside the rim, and just snuffed it. He snuffed the flush and sent it back at him. It was a tremendous defensive play, and it kind of shows you the heart and soul of P.J. Hall and how hard he likes to play. 14 points from Brevin Galloway. He had 3 threes. Off the bench, Chauncey Wiggins, a career-high 12. He had 2 threes, 5 of 7 from the floor. Hunter Tyson gave the Tigers 12 points and 8 rebounds. It was a good all-around performance for Clemson last night. Here's some of what Coach Brad Brownell had to say, talking about the win and other aspects of the game and his team.
Very workmanlike win, I thought, today. Just really pleased with the way our guys played. We came out really ready, and Brevin made some shots, which helps. Give the Georgia Tech kids credit. I thought once, we got them on their heels, and then they regrouped and played much better the rest of the first half. Our guys did a nice job in the second half of just playing the right way, doing what we need to do. Very efficient, couple too many turnovers, but defensively a lot of good things done. Good to see a lot of my young freshman guys being productive, getting more opportunities, a little foul trouble. So just, again, a really good performance by our team. Proud of the way they approached tonight's game and played. Good win. I don't think about it like that. I've said this before. I just look at every week. What do we have this week? What do we have to do to try to play well this week? How do I need to prepare my guys? What messaging do I need to do as the head coach? Obviously, how much do we need to practice? Just get with my staff and try to manage every week the best we can, and then figure it out as we go. Obviously, I'm thrilled, happy for our team and players and fans, but there's still 10 games to go. So, we've done a nice job of staying together, being focused, and played well enough to win some some good games. Yeah, absolutely. Our guys do that. Absolutely. We talk about it a little bit. We don't talk about it a lot. But, we certainly make our guys understand where they are. And, but we don't make a big deal about it. There's still way too much basketball left. These guys don't need all that. They need to be, dream big, focus small, right? So we need to be on point. I think our older players, PJ, Alex, Chase, Hunter Tyson, myself, we felt like we were going to have a good team. And so we've talked a lot this year about no limits, right? We're playing, right? Let's see what we can do. Let's not put limits on ourselves. No limits, no excuses, no regrets has kind of been what we've talked about this year. And it really stemmed from a meeting with Hunter and I this summer. And he's done a nice job as our leader of echoing those kinds of message. And so we kind of talk about that. We talk in that terminology more than we talk about standings and must wins. And, we phrase it in ways to where we know our guys use those three words. And if we have injured guys, no excuses, right? You got to figure out with who's there and play. And so doing the best we can that way. It can be a little frustrating. I don't think it's the be all end all. There's years when obviously the year that we were 35 and NC State was 33 and neither one of us made it was shocking. And there's teams well below us, 20 spaces below us. I mean, I hate to say it like this because it sounds, but if they don't want you in the tournament, they're going to find a reason why. Your net ranking's good, but you don't have enough quad 1 wins. If you got a quad 4 loss, whatever it is, you don't have enough this, that. There's so many factors, and it's a hard job. It is incredibly hard. I don't know how you do it, but I think, we as coaches, everybody, hey, we all look at the net rankings and think, well, that's the tool. But you go and look at that, and there's teams that, I think somebody was with a 70 or a high 60s and got in the tournament, right? Because they must have had a bunch of good wins. I don't really know. I don't think anybody really knows. It's a tool in the toolbox is what I've been told. So, glance at it, but don't really talk about it that much. Yeah. I think it speaks to his will to win. He and Hunter Tyson's will to win is just really high. And that's part of what I said, I think after Saturday's game. And PJ's, much different now than he was earlier in the year. That probably wouldn't have happened, right? That'd have been a dunk. In the last, 2 to 3 weeks, I feel like he's playing better. He's more comfortable. He's more confident. He's trying more things. He's not afraid to try something like that for fear of getting hurt. But he and that, obviously that's been a big part of our success. We're not where we are if PJ's not playing as well as he is. But the competitive spirit of he and of Hunter Tyson is high level. No, I think that was part of his deal is he wanted to make sure we're going to be good. Like, Coach, I want to win, right? And I said, yeah, we're going to win. I think we have a great chance to have a good team. Obviously, we need PJ back healthy, but we get you and PJ back. Chase is going to take another step. Alex is a really good player, is a weapon. We've got experience. Brevin's going to help us because now here's another older guy. We got 5 older players that have been through the wars that can all get double figures. And, if we're cohesive, if we can stay healthy and, you have to get a few breaks, right? You got to make a shot like last week. You got to have a team miss a shot, like special things can happen. But, it was a lot about that, him wanting to win and making sure that he and I were on the same page. That this, we're not. I know we have a lot of young guys coming in, Coach, but you think we're going to be good, right? And so it was kind of just reassurance.
Talking about Hunter Tyson there at the very end when they had their conversations in the summer, and Tyson was trying to figure out whether or not he wanted to return for another year, and Brownell said, "Hey, come on back. We're going to have a good team," and I think it's proved to be very wise. They're using Tyson in a great way. That's taking advantage of his skills. And so it's working out well for all involved. For those of you watching on our stream, you're able to watch some of the highlights of the Tigers win last night over at Georgia Tech. Now they get ready to go down to Florida State and take on the Seminoles, who, if my memory's right, they were hammered last night by Miami, and they're struggling in ACC play. And so, again, Tallahassee's always been a tough place to play. Florida State typically has a very athletic team and a very deep team. I haven't looked too deeply into them. And at this point in time, we'll look more at them this week. But that's a possible road victory for the Tigers. But if they don't play good basketball, they could lose that ball game down there simply because Florida State can be difficult at home. And I'm sure they'd love to have their two guards back and healthy, but those situations are so touchy that they just can't get them totally healthy enough where they can play. They have been working out in practice. They've been getting them to the point where they're close to being able to play, but apparently the discomfort level for the two of them is too much that they're just not able to get back on the court and make it happen. What you got, Pat?
Yes, you're right. Florida State, they're 5-5 right now in the conference, and they're 7-14 overall. Having a down year, certainly for their standards and where we've seen them the past half decade or so. But one other point, I want to echo what you said earlier in the program. You mentioned that with these injuries, essentially two would-be starters for the Tigers have now been out, and that is allowing Brad Brownell and his team to find more depth. It's allowing some of these younger guys to get more experience in meaningful minutes that they would not have been getting otherwise. And one name that I think we're going to continue to hear over the next couple of years, we know Chase Hunter, but how about his younger brother, Dylan Hunter?
Mm-hmm.
And, last night alone, he played 36 minutes. He was terrific for them. Had 9 points, was 3 of 5 for the field, 1 of 1 from 3, made both his free throws, added a rebound and an assist. He didn't really necessarily put up big stats, but he was able to play great defense as his as his older brother has been kind of barking at him all year, is just how to stay in Brad Brownell's good graces and get meaningful minutes, is play hard defense. And that's what he's been doing. And last night, I thought he was terrific.
Update some other scores down in Gainesville, Florida, on top of the Gamecocks, 20-11, 10:37 to go in the first half. Castleton, he's got 2 blocks, so I think that puts him at 200 in his career, or pretty close to it. He's closing in on 200 blocks in his career. 2 blocks tonight. He's got 6 points. He's got a rebound. Reeves has got 5 for Florida. Florida shooting 57%, 8 of 14 from the floor, 2 of 6 from 3. Gamecocks are shooting 33%, being led by Jackson, who's got 6 points at this point. Make that 4 points at this point. He's 2 of 6, so he's not leading them. Carter leads the Gamecocks. He's 2 of 2, including a 3-pointer. He's got 5. Jackson's got 4. Gray's got 2, and nobody else has scored. Jackson does have 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Sounds like he's really into the ball game. 10 minutes in, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a couple of turnovers, and seems like he's doing all he can. Michi Johnson's off to a cold start, 0 for 3. Obviously, to get him going is important for South Carolina. If they're going to have any chance to win, they need some offense from Michi Johnson. Having 3 guys score in the first 10 minutes plus of the ball game, that's not good offense. That is not good balance. That's not good offense. And that is not going to get it done.
No, the Gamecocks are showing good hustle, though, so far. And Gigi Jackson, 5 rebounds already in the first 10 minutes of the ball game. The Gamecocks actually lead the Gators 11-8 on the boards. They just right now are just having their shots not fall. But if they can get Michi Johnson especially, and actually he just hit a 3-pointer, so now he's on the board. If he can now get a streak going and get some more shots up there, Gamecocks might make a run.
23-14 now is the score. You've got Asheville over Presbyterian 39-32. Get you an update on Furman and Sanford up at Timmons. Furman's off to the 13-9 lead, 11:59 to play in the first half. In that one, let's see, Wake Forest and Pittsburgh. It's 22-21 Pitt with 10:33 to play. You know, I bragged about Wake Forest after beating Clemson. Then they lost at home to Virginia. Now they're trailing up at Pitt. It's a close ball game, but I might have put the caboose on them. Chattanooga leading Wofford. No, make it Wofford leading Chattanooga. 16-15. Got 9:15 to play first half of that ball game. And Gardner Webb and Upstate. Give you an update there. Gardner Webb and Upstate, 15-12 Spartans. 11:20 to go in the first half. Make it 17-12 Spartans as the scoreboards are updating as we click on them and click off of them. We're seeing the scores being changed. Check out Georgia, Tennessee. It is Tennessee now leading Georgia 19-17, 10:29 to go in the half. South Carolina will play at Georgia coming up on Saturday. We've got Charleston Southern playing Winthrop, and it's the Buccaneers leading the Eagles 25-19. 9:27 to play in the first half there. And Citadel, Western Carolina, get you a score on this one. The Bulldogs, who got a nice win at VMI the other day, they are leading Western Carolina 17-10. 9:36 to play in the first half there. And we will hit the break here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in just a moment.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HDTVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company, then talking to you, and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
Major Downer here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is just around the corner. To make sure that your boat is ready, check your registration sticker and ensure it's current. Find your registration card, make sure your life jackets are in good shape, and check your fire extinguisher as well. For more information on boating or boat titling questions, visit dnr.sc.gov/boating.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Founders Federal Credit Union knows your life is busy and your money is important. We are proud to offer local personalized services and convenient online services like Founders Online and the Founders app. You'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax, win with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Yeah, South Carolina hanging in there with the Gators. You know, we talked about this game maybe being competitive. 23-17 at the under 8 timeout. Carter now he's having a game. He's 3 for 3 from the field. He's 2 for 2 from 3. Got a couple of rebounds. So he's got 8. And Jackson still on sitting on 4 points. Johnson, as Pat mentioned, had that 3-pointer. He's got 3. Gray's got 2. And Hayden Brown's already got 3 fouls on him, so he only played 6 minutes in the half. So I don't think we'll see him again. 3 fouls in the first half on Hayden Brown, and so you're not going to see him for a while. So that hurts the Gamecocks. So they're hanging in there. They've warmed up to 39% shooting, and they only trailed 23-17, 7:18 to play in the first half. Give you some other notes in recruiting coming up after the break. Frank Reich is going to interview today as the Panthers are narrowing their list of finalists. This from Joe Person covering the Panthers for The Athletic. Frank Reich, former coach of the Colts. Okay, interesting name there. Kentucky's big offensive lineman, Keonta Goodwin, a guy that Clemson recruited heavily out of the state of Indiana, transferring to Florida after his time at Kentucky. I think that's a nice pickup. Tennessee's AD, Danny White's agreed to a contract extension, $2.2 million annually with a 6-year rolling term. This comes after they gave football coach Josh Heupel a new contract at $9 million per year. Okay, we'll come back with recruiting after this break right here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Today's heavy rains will clear out overnight. We'll have a low dropping back down to 39. Tomorrow, the sun comes back. We'll stay breezy and be a bit cooler with a high temp of just 54. Friday and Saturday look very nice with more sun, while Sunday, not so nice. Cloudy with a 50% chance of showers. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hi, honey. How was your first day back at work?
Well, that slip and fall sure did cause me some pain and discomfort. And this swollen ankle is no fun. Thanks to True Pharmacy, the day wasn't a complete waste.
I'm so glad they were able to get you all set up with your ACE bandage wrap and even a set of crutches.
Yes, who knew you could rent your crutches from True Pharmacy?
And they even have wheelchairs to rent and sell. That's good information to know in case we ever need it for our parents as they get older.
I'm so glad we found True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, West Columbia and Divine Street.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Facebook parent Meta is reinstating former President Donald Trump's personal account after a 2-year suspension following the January 6th riot. The company said in a blog post Wednesday it is adding new guardrails to ensure there are no repeat offenders who violate its rules. Facebook is not only the world's largest social media site, but has been a crucial source of fundraising revenue for Mr. Trump's campaigns, which spent millions of dollars on the company's ads in 2016 and 2020. The move, which comes as Mr. Trump is ramping up his third run for the White House, will not only allow Trump to communicate directly with his 34 million followers, dramatically more than the 4.8 million who currently follow him on his own site, Truth Social, but will also allow him to resume direct fundraising. This is SRN News.
Loyalty is an important quality, but it's not a given. It's earned. Shooter's Choice has earned the loyalty of people around the Midlands because they have great customer service, tremendous selection, and they've been the local guys for more than 30 years. And that should matter to you. If you're looking for the right firearm, ammo, AR accessories, even a gun safe, visit the folks at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. This is where you'll find the experts, the folks that actually shoot, they hunt, or visit a big box store where you'll never see the same person twice, where their only expertise comes from watching some YouTube video. Shooter's Choice has the top brands. They offer classes to make sure you develop proper safety technique and skills. Most of all, they offer the best quality products at fair prices sold by good local people. If you can't make it to the store, you can visit online, shooterschoicesc.com. They're also on Facebook and Instagram, or they're waiting for you at 944 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hey, Point family, you want something different? Something unique? This is Brandon Tatum, the host of The Officer Tatum Show. We're right Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Following Sports Talk, we'll be the voice of and for the people. We'll inspire, we'll educate, and we'll empower you. The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 8 p.m., right here on 100.7 The Point and online at MakeThePointRadio.com.
Hi, this is Kevin Cohen. The Point is a unique radio station. We don't have a bunch of huge corporate sponsors, and we're not a part of a local group of 5 or 6 corporate radio stations. We're a locally owned and locally operated station. In fact, we're a family. We think community first. We're all about local, local, local. And if you're a small business owner, well, it'd be my honor to sit down with you, talk about growing your business with the help of The Point. If you've never considered radio advertising, well, it works, especially talk radio. Our listeners trust us. They trust and they support our advertisers. You'd be surprised just how affordable running some ads on The Point can be. So let me put something together, a customized package that fits your needs, your budget. I'm not corporate. I'm just Kev. Call me, 563-8558, or email me at kev@makethepointradio.com. That's 563-8558, or my email address, kev@makethepointradio.com. Let's sit down. Let's talk about partnering up. Let's talk about seeing if we can grow together.
All right, time for the recruiting reports here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. Hide the women and children. I'm going out for roast beef Thursday tomorrow. I can't stand it. I've missed a couple of roast beef Fridays. I need to get that protein, need to get that energy going again. No better place to make that happen than at Seawells for the delicious, the healthy, the economical daily luncheon buffet. Only $13. And you know, you don't have to eat like a pig. You don't have to. You can go in there and eat like a regular human. You don't have to fill up 3 plates of food and add about 50 pounds. Go in there and just enjoy yourself, have a nice meal, go home, take a nap, then go back to work for about an hour, then go home again and listen to Sports Talk. That would be a good afternoon, if you ask me. 11 to 2 tomorrow for the daily luncheon buffet with roast beef, the planned attraction. And they do it every day, Monday through Friday. Again, it's only $13. You're not going to find a buffet like this anywhere for $13. And if you need the very best in the catering business, well, you know who to call. That's Seawells at 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. All right, in recruiting tonight, and as I do the recruiting report tonight, for those of you who might be watching the stream, if you're watching earlier, we ran some highlights of the Clemson basketball win last night. If you're watching the stream, we got some highlights of, Nicholas Harbor for you. And, of course, not only is he a talented football player, he's a big-time elite level sprinter. And we got some of those highlights running for you right now as we give you the recruiting report. So about Nick Harbor, tight end, defensive end out of Washington. And it's headed down the home stretch now this week. He's met with Dan Lanning of Oregon. He's met with Jim Harbaugh of Michigan. And tonight, he's meeting with Mario Cristobal of Miami, Mike Loxley of Maryland, and Shane Beamer of South Carolina. In fact, Beamer gets the last visit. Beamer and his crew of assistants will be in there about 9 o'clock, according to his father, Azuka Harbor. And the family will be heading out to Oregon this weekend for an official visit. And then National Signing Day number 2 on Wednesday. Harbor will announce the decision. It'll be somewhere around noon, and one of the ESPN channels will have it when he is ready to make his announcement. I would imagine they're going to do the best they can to keep everything under wraps until then. The Harbor has visited USC multiple times during the recruiting process, and Beamer has sold himself and his program extremely well, to the point he is one of the last 5 coaches standing in this marathon recruiting battle. So his dad, Mr. Azuga, said, quote, "We love South Carolina. When we went there, everything checked out, educational, living conditions, everything checked out real well. They laid out a complete home for Nicholas," he said. "We were very impressed with everything. My wife was so in love with Boomer," that's Beamer's dog. "I think it was a very good visit, and it has a very special place in my heart, most definitely." Now, there are 2 in-home visits down, 3 to go. And Mr. Harbor said the first two sessions with Oregon and Michigan went very well. Quote, as far as Oregon, it was a lot of fun. We were just talking. It wasn't anything you can say particularly. Everybody was just talking about what they have for Nick and what they will do for Nick. They just let us know that we're here to take care of your child. And the same thing with Michigan. Hanging out with Harbaugh was just fun, shooting a little breeze, and having some good old fun. Not anything specific, just reassuring you as a father and a mother and my daughter that we are going to be able to take care of your guy's child. End of quote. Harbor said as the last three visitors are set to come in on Wednesday, it's most important for Miami because his son has the least amount of contact with Mario Cristobal, the coach there at Miami, the head coach at Miami. So it's really a key thing for Cristobal, I think it's Cristobal, to get in front of him. And so Mr. Azuka said, quote, we're trying to make sure everybody has their own time to see him and talk to him. Only person we've not really seen face-to-face is Cristobal. He said, Coach Beamer, we know Coach Beamer. We know Coach Beamer. We've spent a lot of time with Coach Beamer. It's not anything new. Maryland, we are just around the corner. I can even walk to Maryland from my home. It's just down the street from my walk, just 10 minutes away. So the in-home visits are fun. Official visits are always a treat. But after this weekend, the hard work begins, and that means getting down and making a decision. They'll have to tell 4 coaches no and 1 coach's yes. Mr. Harbor said, quote, he asked me yesterday, what do you want? When do you want to talk to me? He said, when we come back from the trip to Oregon. I said, where are you? And he said, he being Nick, he said, he's still making up his mind. I said, okay, we'll talk later. I said to him, you are going to make the decision on your own. But if you ask me for guidance, I'll give you guidance. You ask me what I feel about the whole thing, I will give you the whole thing. But at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be in school. It's not me. I'll be at home. One of the schools that you've decided you're going to go to, any of those schools is good. From my standpoint, everything checked out. Do I have a favorite? Mr. Harbor said rhetorically. Do I have a favorite? If I say yes, I'm lying. Then it's going to be crazy for him, for a child, to make a decision, to make a choice, because all the coaches that he met are wonderful people. He went on to say, I mean, Coach Sterling Lucas from South Carolina, we talk like we're family, friends down the street. He said, sometimes I think this is just too much for the kids. As I told him, I'm going to give you advice, but I'm not going to tell you what school you're going to have to go to. I will give you my opinion, but I'm just going to lay it out for you. This is what I think. You can make up your mind. Whatever decision you make, I'll be supportive. End of the quotes. Like I said, he'll announce Wednesday his public decision, have a ceremony at the school. Several players will be signing. That will start around noon. Harbor will go last, and his announcement will be carried over one of the ESPN outlets, according to his coach. Now, we heard tonight from Coach Paige Wofford at Northwestern. Receiver Elijah Caldwell is ready to announce his commitment decision tomorrow between like 1 and 2 o'clock. He's coming off an official at USC last weekend. Weekend before that, he was at NC State. Those are the 2 finalists. Wolfpack coaches were in for a visit last week. Scheduled to be back this week. USC coaches were in last week. And last night, Shane Beamer and staff members had their in-home visit. And Coach Wofford said, quote, as far as I know, it's come down to NC State and South Carolina. And we'll see how it goes, but I don't think he can make a bad choice between those 2. I think he's going to go where he felt the most at home and where he felt like he had the best chance for a program that he thinks is really on the way up. End of the quote. As for the visit Caldwell took to South Carolina, Wofford said he hadn't talked with him in great detail, but he did say, quote, he liked the food, he liked the people, he liked the atmosphere, he liked the way they treated him and treated his family. He said Coach Stepp did a really good job talking to him and making sure he was comfortable, end quote. So that should come down tomorrow between 1 and 2. Meantime, Northwestern running back Turbo Richard was offered by Connecticut and Georgia State. And South Carolina's offered several new players, and I love these two. Well, it's redundant to say twin brothers, right? I mean, twins. But I guess you should say brothers so you know that they're boys. Twin brothers. How about this name? Ty Coolhill Lumen. Ty Coolhill. That's one word. Tycoollhill. Ty Cool Lumen. 6'3", 240, Miami. And his twin brother, Ty Clean Lumen of Miami. Both are 6'3", 240. That reminds me of a funny story. So remember when Clemson had a player out of Mississippi by the name of Antoine Edwards, I think it was. Remember Antoine Edwards? Yeah, he was a defensive back. He was a safety out of Mississippi. Antoine Edwards.
And then went to the Packers, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm calling him for a recruiting conversation, and a guy answers the phone. I go, "Hey, Antoine." He goes, No, this is his twin brother, Antwin.
No way.
I'm serious. And I started laughing. So there's Antoine and Antwin. And here you got Ty Coolhill Lumen and Ty Clean Lumen.
They were twin brothers, right? Not just brothers?
Twin brothers.
Love it.
6'3", 240. Gamecocks offered running back Peyton Lewis out of Salem, Virginia, 6'1", 190. Linebacker Joseph Phillips, 6'3", 230 of Montgomery. Defensive end Dylan Stevenson, 6'5", 230 Miami. In the 25 class, receiver Jameer Joseph, 6'1", 175, Montvale, New Jersey. And offensive guard Chauncey Goodwin of Nashville, 6'4", 315. In the 26 class, cornerback Nasir McCoy, 6 feet 170, Hapeville, Georgia. River Bluff running back Cooper Johns received a PWO offer from the Gamecocks. LSU offered Gamecock commitment tight end Michael Smith, who just committed yesterday. You paying attention down there, LSU? He's committed. Hands off. You know what commitment is? That's not a red flag. It's not even a yellow flag. It's a green flag in recruiting. That means others come on and jump on board. Unless, of course, the player says, stop it, I'm not talking to anybody. Defensive tackle Heaven Brown Schuler of Atlanta will be at Clemson Saturday for the junior day. He's been to Michigan and Georgia this month. Defensive end Darian Mayo of Olney, Maryland, plans to be at Clemson Saturday. Clemson target offensive tackle Jamison Riggs plans to be at Clemson Saturday. He was at Tennessee last weekend. Cornerback Charles Lester plans to be at Clemson Saturday, though he has a top 5 of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, and Florida State. 2025 defensive tackle Elijah Griffin, 6'5", 280 of Savannah, plans to be at USC Saturday. Fort Dorchester quarterback Zoltan Osborne committed to Charleston Southern. And let me peek here and see if there's anything else I want to mention. Clemson running back target David Iziomi will be in for the junior day on Saturday. I think we mentioned that yesterday. So I think we've covered everything at this point. There you go with recruiting for now here on Sports Talk. Recruiting brought to you by Seawells, always available on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag #STRecruiting. So let's see where we are in the basketball game. They should be well advanced. 34-26 Florida, 4 seconds to go in the opening half. And the Gamecocks have yet to lead in this one. They trailed by as much as 11 at 28-17, but they're down 24-36, 4 seconds to go. G.G. Jackson's got 8 now for the Gamecocks. Carter has got 8 for the Gamecocks as well. And again, they're in this ball game going into halftime, and that's about all you can ask at this particular time with this team, just to be in the ball game and have a chance going into the second half. Give yourself a chance. Reeves has 10 for the Gators at this point. Do you have something?
Well, just again, we've made it a point throughout this season just to talk about the effort or lack thereof. It's at moments from this Gamecock team. But again, tonight, just looking here, they still hold a winning margin on rebounds, in particular offensive rebounds. So the effort appears to be there tonight. If they can just get a little better shooting percentage in the second half, they might have a chance. But right now, one thing that is really hurting them that sticks out is turnovers. They have 9 turnovers to Florida's 3. And that right there, those 6 possessions could be the difference in the game.
Now, they had a great effort in the Auburn game.
They sure did. Yeah.
They
Especially
were down.
Gigi.
They cut it back to 10, and then it just grew. Ended up being, they reached 26, I think, at one point. So, they gave a good effort. And like you said, they're giving a good effort tonight. They're down 8 at the break now. It's 34-26 Florida as they go to the half in Gainesville. And we'll go to our final break here on Sports Talk. As we do, we'll update some other scores and then come back with more. Tennessee is leading Georgia at the half. It's 35-22 now. Playing in Knoxville, Georgia got off to a decent start, but they're not going to hang with Tennessee. Of course, the Gamecocks play in Athens on Saturday. Furman is leading Samford. It's 35-30 with 1:17 to play in the first half. We'll give you more scores after the break.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Join the Trailblaze Challenge, the endurance hike program where big hearts come together for big steps to create hope for local Wish families through Make-A-Wish, South Carolina. This spring, take part in a new journey on the Palmetto Trail. From sunrise on the highest peak in South Carolina to the coastal marshes of the Lowcountry, hikers of all levels can support critically ill children, enjoy and explore the outdoors, and build South Carolina pride and community through an all-inclusive hike experience. Visit sctrailblazechallenge.org to learn how to get started. That's sctrailblazechallenge.org.
Drop top Porsche, rollie on my wrist, diamonds up and down my chain. Cardi B straight stunning, can't tell me nothing. Bossed up and I changed the game. It's my big bronze boogie, got all them girls shook. My big fat, got all them boys cooked. We're from dollar bills, now we poppin' rubber bands. You don't say to me while I do my money dance like. Flexing on the ground like.
Final minutes tonight here on Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel back at the Dave and Buster's studios. Appreciate everybody being with us tonight. Thanks to Eric Backish for joining us. Clemson baseball coach. Going to be a lot of fun watching baseball. We'll continue to talk to coaches as we get into practice here across the state of South Carolina. Give you some more basketball here in our final minutes tonight. We've got Pittsburgh and Wake Forest. They are at the half. It's a 49-39 lead for the Panthers over the Demon Deacons. Asheville leading Presbyterian at the half, 42-34. Wofford now up on Chattanooga, and it is 36-30 at the half, playing that game in Chattanooga. Got to wonder what Wofford's going to do with his head coaching job after this season. They have an interim coach running things right now. USC Upstate and Gardner-Webb. It's 32-29. Gardner-Webb late in the first half, about 18 seconds to go. Spartans are 9-10, so looking to get back to 500 overall. If they can get the win tonight, Winthrop has come back against Charleston Southern. Choso led early. It's at the half. Winthrop is up 40-39 playing that game up in Rock Hill. Citadel and Western Carolina. It's a 32-31 Bulldog lead with 31 seconds to go in the opening half. And Citadel trying to put back-to-back Southern Conference wins on the board. And so you're up to date on the scoreboard at this point in time. Again, South Carolina and Florida have gone to the half with the Gators leading 34-26. Give you some numbers here. The Gamecocks are shooting 34%. The Gators 45%. USC 3 of 10 from distance. The Gators are 3 of 13. USC is 3 of 3 from the line. Florida is 3 of 5. USC has turned it over 9 times. So that hurts. When you factor this, they've turned it over 9 times, and they've had 5 shots blocked. That's 14 possessions that you did not get up at the rim. So that hurts. That hurts. Now, they've only had 2 fewer shot attempts, 31-29. They are doing a good job on the boards. In fact, they're winning on the boards, and that's helped them. They've got 4 offensive rebounds. They've turned into 10 second chance points. And the Gators have just 1 offensive board and no second chance points. So that alone right there is pretty much keeping the Gamecocks in this ballgame. They're being outscored on fast breaks because of the turnovers and the block shots. They're being outscored 8-0. What you got?
I was just going to add, the Gamecocks are doing all this with Hayden Brown having only played 6 minutes in the first half, too, with those 3 fouls. And usually he's such a force defensively. He's kind of the rah-rah guy on the court, kind of the captain, so to speak, getting everybody going. Not to mention on the boards. He's usually so good with rebounds. And for them to keep it this close with mix that with Michi Johnson not shooting well, the Gamecocks, again, they may have a run in them in the second half.
And we'll see what happens. Poll question of the week, talking about Gamecock football. 7-6, 3-5 under Beamer, year 1. 8-5, 4-4 in year 2. So the arrow is pointing up. Do you expect the upward trajectory to continue in 23? And if so, by how many wins? Now, I've had some people complain that one of the answers did not include 1 more win. Well, I just didn't have room for it. Again, you're only allowed on a Twitter poll 4 answers. So I decided to go with 4 and not 1. 4 wins in case somebody thought the Gamecocks would run the table in the regular season. So 56.1% of 431 votes say the Gamecocks will add 2 more wins. So they'd win 10 in the regular season. 34.3% say they will win 8 or fewer in 2023. In other words, they will not improve over the 8-5 from last season, 8-4 in the regular season. And then 5.3% say, yeah, the Gamecocks will win 3 more games. So 11, and then 4.2% say they'll win 4 more games. 12 wins in the regular season.
Phil, we're going to know an awful lot about that Gamecock football team after the month of September. Just with those 5 games, again, UNC, Furman, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Tennessee, all in the month of September.
Yeah. So they got the neutral game in Charlotte. Then they do have to go to Georgia. They get Mississippi State at home. They get Furman at home. They do go to Tennessee. Who's the other one?
You said all 5. North Carolina is neutral.
Okay.
Furman is at home. Georgia is in Athens. Mississippi State is home in Columbia. And then Tennessee is on the road.
So, really, Tennessee and Georgia on the road. Yeah, 2 losses there. So you got to win the neutral game and your 2 home games, and you're 3-2 coming out of September. Is that right?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would take that. 3-2, if you can do that in those 5, is pretty daggum good.
Well, you figure Georgia, Tennessee will definitely be ranked in the, I would say, the top 5 next year. Preseason top 5 next year, you think would be in no particular order. Let's just throw teams. Preseason top 5, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio State. I don't think people will do TCU.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that was a one-off kind of deal. Okay, they had their fun. Clemson, I don't know. I mean,
did you say Michigan?
I didn't say Michigan. I'm searching for the 5th. I said 4. Do you agree with those 4?
I do, absolutely.
Yeah. So who's your best bet for number 5?
Southern Cal, Michigan,
Clemson,
but I think they'll probably be closer to 8 or 9, maybe closer to 10.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else in the SEC we're thinking about? LSU?
Ooh, LSU actually. LSU might be good. Has Jaden Daniels, as their quarterback, announced whether he's coming back? Or
He
not?
is.
That's huge for them.
Yeah,
He was spectacular for them this season.
I believe I'm correct on that, but I'll do a quick Google search. But I think one thing I read was that he's returning. Yeah, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels to return for 23-24. So that's big for them. He's a really good quarterback. He transferred from Arizona. I was really impressed with him. Even in that opening game loss to Florida State, I thought that he moved them well and ran the football well. So they're going to be a tough out next year. I wonder how many people will question Alabama, though, who the quarterback's going to be. Going to have a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. How much will that affect the thinking of people about Alabama? Okay, that will do it. We'll have some post-game comments from Lamont Paris after the Gamecocks wrap it up in Gainesville. Otherwise, thanks for being with us. Thank you, Pat. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Someone will be right with you.